Marcus wiped the sweat from his brow as he pushed the industrial mop across the gleaming marble floors of Thornton Industries' executive suite. It was 3 a.m., and the building was silent except for the rhythmic swish of water and the distant hum of the HVAC system. His back ached, his shoulders burned, but he wouldn't stop. In 6 hours, his daughter Emma would wake up asking for breakfast, and he needed to be there with a smile on his face, pretending he wasn't running on 3 hours of sleep. Again. The single father of two had learned to survive on coffee, determination, and the fading memory of his late wife's voice telling him, "You're stronger than you know, Marcus." 3 years since cancer had stolen her away, and he was still trying to prove her right. By day, he was dad, packing lunches, braiding hair, attending parent-teacher conferences. By night, he became invisible, the janitor who cleaned up after people who made more in an hour than he made in a month. Marcus had noticed her before, everyone had. Victoria Chen, the new CEO, was impossible to miss. She'd swept into Thornton Industries 6 months ago like a controlled hurricane, all sharp suits and sharper decisions. The company had been hemorrhaging money for years, and she was brought in to stop the bleeding. The employees called her the Ice Queen, behind her back, but Marcus had seen something different during those late nights. He'd seen her sitting alone in her office at 2 a.m., head in her hands, the weight of 3,000 jobs pressing down on her shoulders. Tonight was different, though. Tonight was the night before everything changed. Victoria had been preparing for weeks, months really, for the deal that would save Thornton Industries. A massive contract with a European manufacturing giant, worth $50 million, set to be signed tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. The entire company's future hinged on this single meeting. Marcus finished the executive floor and made his way down to the parking garage. His shift ended at 4 a.m., but he always did one final check of the garage. Call it paranoia, call it thoroughness, but it had become his routine. The harsh fluorescent lights cast long shadows between the expensive cars, BMWs, Mercedes, Teslas. Then he saw it, Victoria's silver Lexus, parked in her reserved spot. And all 4 tires were completely flat. His heart dropped. No, not flat, slashed. Deep, deliberate cuts in the sidewalls. Vandalism. Sabotage. Marcus's mind raced. The meeting was in 4 hours. The investors were flying in from Germany, impossible to reschedule. Without transportation, Victoria would never make it. The company would lose the contract. 3,000 people, including himself, would likely lose their jobs within months. He pulled out his phone, fingers hovering over 911. Then he stopped. The police would come, take a report, and then what? The damage was done. There wasn't time for investigations or insurance claims. There wasn't time for anything except action. Marcus looked at his phone again, this time opening his banking app. The screen glowed harsh and unforgiving, $1,247.32. His total savings. Money he'd been scraping together for 18 months, dollar by painful dollar. Money meant for Emma's dental surgery, she needed braces, and his insurance wouldn't cover them. Money that represented every skipped meal, every declined invitation, every extra shift worked until his hands bled. The security camera blinked red in the corner. He looked up at it, then back at Victoria's car. What happened next would seem insane to anyone watching. Marcus walked deliberately to his locker, retrieved his pocket knife, and approached Victoria's vehicle. Without hesitation, he drove the blade into each tire. 1, 2, 3, 4. The hiss of escaping air echoed through the garage like an accusation. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Victoria's phone buzzed at 3:47 a.m., yanking her from a fitful sleep. Unknown number. Ms. Chen. This is Marcus Wade, the night janitor at Thornton. I'm sorry to call so late, but there's an emergency. Your car's been vandalized, all 4 tires slashed. You need to come to the building right now. 30 minutes later, Victoria stood in the parking garage in yoga pants and a sweatshirt, staring at her ruined Lexus. Marcus stood nearby, still in his janitorial uniform, eyes red with exhaustion. Who did this? She asked, her voice tight. I don't know, ma'am. I found it like this during my final rounds. But I've already called my mechanic, he owes me a favor. He's on his way with 4 tires. We can have you rolling by 6:30 a.m., plenty of time for your meeting. Victoria turned to look at him properly for the first time. Really look at him. Your mechanic works at 4 a.m. When I explained the situation, he agreed to help. The tires will cost about $1,200 installed. I know the company accountants aren't in yet, but if you could write me a check, I'll pay him when he arrives and submit it for reimbursement on Monday. Something in his voice made her pause. You're going to pay for this yourself. Up front. Yes, ma'am. Your meeting can't wait for business hours. By 6:45 a.m., Victoria's car was ready, and Marcus's savings account was empty. She'd offered to write him a personal check immediately, but he'd insisted it could wait until Monday, through proper channels. As she prepared to leave, she placed her hand on his arm. Thank you, Marcus. I won't forget this. He smiled tiredly. Just doing what needed to be done, Ms. Chen. Good luck with your meeting. The deal closed successfully. Thornton Industries was saved. But Victoria Chen wasn't finished with Marcus Wade. Monday morning, she called him to her office. Marcus arrived in his janitor uniform, nervous and exhausted as always. Victoria sat across from him with the building's security director and a laptop. Marcus, I need to show you something. She turned the laptop around. Security footage from the parking garage filled the screen. Footage of Marcus deliberately slashing her tires. His face went white. Ms. Chen, I can explain. Let me explain first, she interrupted. We reviewed all the footage. At 2:47 a.m., Dylan Graves from our sales department entered the garage. She clicked to another angle. He slashed my tires, probably trying to sabotage the deal so his cousin's competing firm would get the contract instead. She clicked again. At 3:35 a.m., you discovered the damage. You stood there for 8 minutes, clearly distressed. Then you did something that made no sense. You slashed the tires again, making completely different cuts. She paused the video. The security director was confused, so he examined it closer. Your cuts obscured the original damage. You created new, more obvious slash marks that pointed away from the subtle precision cuts Graves had made. Then you called your mechanic, who, we learned, charged you $1,200 that you didn't have. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. The security footage would have shown who did it originally, but there wasn't time for an investigation. If you'd known it was an inside job, you would have had to involve police, conduct interviews, maybe postpone the meeting. The investors would have gotten spooked, wondered what kind of company has employees sabotaging deals. I needed to make it look random so you could focus on the meeting. Victoria's eyes glistened. You destroyed evidence of a crime and spent your life savings to save a company that pays you $15 an hour. Why? Because 3,000 people work here, Ms. Chen. They have families, kids. My daughter Emma is 7, she loves her teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, whose husband works in packaging. My son's best friend's mom works in accounting. This isn't just a company. It's a community. He looked down. And because my wife used to say that doing the right thing isn't always the easy thing. Victoria stood and walked to her window overlooking the factory floor. Dylan Graves has been terminated and will face criminal charges. Your $1,200 has been reimbursed. She turned to face him. But that's not enough, is it? She handed him an envelope. This is your new contract. You're our new director of facilities management, $85,000 a year, full benefits, and a signing bonus that should cover your daughter's dental work and then some. You see things others don't, Marcus. You understand what really matters. I need that perspective. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. One condition, Victoria continued. You have to tell me if I'm screwing up. No filter. Deal. He wiped his eyes, smiled, and extended his hand. Deal. 6 months later, Marcus stood at the company holiday party, watching Emma show off her new braces to anyone who would listen. Victoria approached with 2 cups of punch. Your daughter's beautiful, she said. She is. Takes after her mother. Marcus accepted the cup. You know, I spent years being invisible, thinking I didn't matter. Turns out, sometimes the smallest acts create the biggest changes. Victoria smiled. You taught me something, Marcus. I was so focused on saving the company through deals and numbers, I forgot companies are made of people. Real people with real lives. You risked everything for them, for us, when you had the most to lose. We all have something to lose, Ms. Chen. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us care. As Marcus watched his children laugh and play, surrounded by colleagues who'd become friends, he finally understood what his wife had meant. Strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about breaking for the right reasons, for the right people. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you could do was destroy something, even security footage, even evidence, even your own savings, to build something better. The janitor who had worked in shadows had stepped into the light, not because he sought recognition, but because he dared to believe that one person, even the invisible one, could change everything.